Pryler flicked off the human entertainment show with disgust, the strong, rugged jaws and chiseled physiques of the Earth males still burning in her 18-year-old Ithorian imagination. Countless hours she had downloaded this primitive species media, becoming obsessed with their culture. Her parents, high-ranking diplomats, worried about her unhealthy fascination. On Earth, Roger Rogers felt lost. The 21-year-old college student struggled through classes and a dead-end job, yearning for adventure and meaning that seemed always out of reach. Pryler made a decision that shocked her world. She would travel to Earth, the first Ithorian to ever step foot on that barbaric planet. Fueled by an all-consuming need to find a human mate, she stole an experimental warp-drive ship. Her parents forbid the journey. Pryler didn't listen. News of her unauthorized mission leaked. Pryler's actions disgraced her influential family. The Ithorian High Council branded her a criminal. Warships launched in hot pursuit of her tiny stolen vessel, under orders to drag her back for harsh punishment. Pryler pushed her ship to its limits, narrowly staying ahead of the Ithorian fleet as she raced for the distant Sol system. Alarms blared as her engines strained. Cutting it far too close, she reached Earth space just as her vessel's power died. The ship tore through the atmosphere in an uncontrolled descent. With a thunderous impact, it crashed in the hills outside a small town. Pryler dragged herself from the smoking wreckage and staggered forward, straight into the shocked arms of Roger Rogers. Roger had no idea what to make of this exotic alien girl who had literally fallen out of the sky. Against all common sense, he took her to his apartment to hide her from the inevitable investigation. He didn't know she was a fugitive. Not yet. As an interstellar incident brewed with Ithorian warships entering Earth orbit, Pryler tried to adjust to life on this strange new world. Roger found himself falling for her, an interspecies attraction as dangerous as it was impossible. Both would soon face the wrath of the Ithorian military, hell-bent on recapturing Pryler. If Roger failed to keep her hidden, two worlds would collide in a battle that could destroy everything and everyone he cared about. The fate of both their civilizations hung by the weakest of threads. Roger rushed to Pryler's side as she crawled from the wreckage of her ship. He scooped the dazed alien girl into his arms and carried her swiftly back to his apartment before anyone else spotted the crash. In the safety of his home, he laid her on the couch and checked her for injuries, marveling at the exotic beauty of her foreign features. Pryler blinked up at him with wide, frightened eyes, speaking in a musical language he couldn't understand. Roger tried to soothe her. "It's okay, you're safe here. I won't let anyone hurt you." He tended to her cuts and bruises as best he could. Pryler flinched at first, but soon settled under his gentle care. She pointed to a device on her wrist, gesturing for Roger to speak into it. He did so hesitantly. "Can you understand me?" The device whirred, and a tentative voice emerged in English. "Yes, I understand. You help me." Roger grinned. "That's right. I'm going to help you, Pryler." At her confused look, he pointed to himself. "I'm Roger." A smile bloomed on her face, transforming it from scared to radiant. "Roger?" She pressed a hand to her chest. "Pryler." He smiled back, captivated by this incredible alien girl who had dropped into his life. Over the next few days, as Pryler recovered, they used her translator to slowly learn about each other. Roger was blown away by the advanced technology she showed him. He worked on repairing her ship in secret, scavenging parts where he could. In turn, Pryler was endlessly fascinated by life on Earth. Roger introduced her to pizza and movies, both of which she adored. He took her on careful outings, showing her the town and the daily routines of humanity. Pryler marveled at it all with a childlike wonder. The male bravado and masculine culture especially captivated her. Neither could deny the growing bond between them, the interspecies attraction blossoming with every moment together. Even with her exotic alienness, Pryler felt familiar, felt right. She saw Roger as the embodiment of the strong, heroic human males she had always dreamed of. But trouble was brewing. Roger's nosy neighbor Chuck spotted Pryler on one of their excursions. He banged on Roger's door that night, threatening to call the cops about the illegal alien Roger was obviously hiding. Roger pacified Chuck for the moment, but he knew it was only a matter of time. He had to get Prylar off-world before they were discovered. What Roger didn't know was that the Ithorians had already found them. Battle-hardened Craxor tracked Prylar's landing to this backwater human town. His recon team intercepted Chuck's communications about Roger's alien. It was the lead they needed. Craxor approached Chuck in a perfect disguise, playing the role of human government agent. He convinced Chuck that Roger was harboring a dangerous fugitive, and that Chuck's help was needed to capture her. The gullible human agreed immediately. Hours later, Craxor's trap was sprung. Roger was out gathering final supplies for Prylar's ship. She was alone when Chuck and the Ithorians kicked in the door. Prylar recognized her own kind and bolted in panic. Chuck stared at the attacking Ithorians in slow-dawning shock, realizing he had been tricked. Craxor dropped him with a neural stunner before he could cry out. Prylar fled into Roger's bedroom and slammed the door, dragging a dresser in front of it. She could hear the Ithorians hammering to get in. Her eyes fell on Roger's engineering tools, scattered electronics and wire. An idea formed. With trembling fingers, she stripped the parts and started assembling, wiring, welding. The door splintered behind her as she worked furiously. With a final twist, her creation hummed to life, a makeshift ion blaster. Prylar leveled it at the door just as it burst open. "Stay back!" Craxor and his warriors froze. The weapon wasn't powerful, but it could still kill. They faced off tensely. Outside, police cars screeched to a halt, summoned by reports of a disturbance. Roger arrived to chaos, his heart seizing as he spotted an Ithorian ship landed out of sight nearby. Prylar was in trouble. Thinking fast, Roger snatched a homemade smoke grenade from his trunk, a memento of his misspent youth. He lobbed it through his bedroom window, filling the room with a billowing cloud. Using the distraction, Roger charged, tackling the lead Ithorian to the ground. "Prylar, run!" Prylar sprinted from the smoke, nearly colliding with Roger. She grabbed his hand, and together they fled his apartment into the night, racing to stay ahead of the regrouping Ithorians and converging human police. The clash of worlds had begun, with Roger and Prylar in the eye of the storm. Two young souls from different stars, brought together by chance, and now bound by the desperate need to keep each other safe from both their peoples. Their only hope was escape, but with enemies on all sides, survival was far from certain. Roger's heart pounded as he crouched behind his apartment building. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. He spotted the Ithorian ship, its sleek hull shimmering with an otherworldly iridescence. Roger darted toward it, praying he could somehow defuse this powder keg before it exploded. The ship's hatch hissed open at his touch. Roger clambered inside, eyes wide as he took in the alien control panels pulsing with strange symbols. He fumbled with unfamiliar buttons and levers, searching for anything that looked like it might be communications equipment. Come on, he muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. A holographic display flickered to life. Roger tapped at it frantically until a gruff Ithorian voice barked through the speakers. "Unauthorized access detected. Identify yourself immediately." Roger swallowed hard. "This is Roger Rogers. I'm a friend of Prylar's. Please, you have to listen to me. There's still a chance to grit this peacefully." "Stand down, human," the voice growled. "This doesn't concern you." "But it does. Earth's police are about to storm my apartment. If they clash with your warriors, people could die. Let me help negotiate Prylar's surrender." "Negotiation is not an option. Prylar's crimes demand severe punishment." Roger's stomach dropped. "What crimes? What did she do that was so terrible?" The Ithorian, Craxor, outlined Prylar's offenses in clipped tones. Roger's mind reeled. He'd had no idea the scale of what Prylar had done, the lines she'd crossed. "She must face Ithorian justice," Craxor concluded. "Life imprisonment is the minimum sentence." "You can't," Roger protested. "There has to be another way." "There is not, and you will vacate our ship immediately or face the consequences." The communication cut off abruptly. Roger smacked his fist against the console in frustration. Outside, he heard the SWAT team assembling. Their harsh voices carried snippets of their attack plan. Flashbangs, stun grenades, go in hard and fast. Roger sprinted from the ship back toward his apartment. He had to reach Pryler before it was too late. But how could he possibly get her out of this mess? As he rounded the corner, he saw Craxor and his warriors readying weapons that hummed with deadly energy. They turned as one to face Roger, eyes cold. "Last chance, human," Craxor snarled. "Step aside or be eliminated with the fugitive." Roger raised his hands slowly, mind racing. He was out of time, out of options. All he had left was the truth. "Wait," he shouted. "Please, just listen to me." Roger's heart pounded as he crouched behind a dumpster in the alley. Pryler's alien form pressed close beside him. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. He peeked around the corner, spotting SWAT teams setting up a perimeter. "We need to move," he whispered urgently. "Can you sense any safe routes?" Pryler's eyes glowed faintly as she focused her alien senses. There, through the loading dock of that abandoned factory. They sprinted across the open space, energy blasts from Ithorian weapons sizzling past them. Roger yanked open the rusted door and they tumbled inside, slamming it shut behind them. In the dim interior, Roger scanned their surroundings. Dust-covered machinery loomed in the shadows. He grabbed Pryler's hand, leading her deeper into the building's maze-like interior. "We need to get to your ship," Roger said as they caught their breath. "It's our only chance off this rock." Pryler nodded grimly. "The damage is extensive. We'll need replacement parts." "I know where we can get them, but it's risky. We'll have to go back to the crash site." Outside, they heard the thump of boots and shouted orders. The authorities were closing in. Roger found a grimy window and peered out. Police cruisers blocked the streets. In the sky above, he glimpsed the sleek form of an Ithorian ship. "Looks like your people called in reinforcements," he muttered. Pryler's alien features twisted with worry. "Craxor won't give up. He'll burn this whole town to capture me." Roger's fists tight with dedication. "Not if I can help it. Come on, I have an idea." They snuck through the factory's loading area, emerging into a back alley. Roger led them to a storm drain. "Down here. The sewers connect to maintenance tunnels that run under most of the town. We can use them to reach the crash site undetected." Pryler hesitated at the entrance. "It smells unpleasant." Roger managed a wry grin. "Welcome to Earth. Sometimes you gotta get your hands dirty to survive." They descended into the dank tunnels. Water dripped from rusted pipes as they splashed through shallow puddles. Roger used his phone's flashlight to navigate the twisting passages. After what felt like hours of tense, silent travel, they emerged near the wooded area where Pryler's ship had crashed. Roger peered cautiously from their hiding spot in the underbrush. The crash site was a hive of activity. Human authorities had set up floodlights and were combing the area. A cordon of armed Ithorian warriors stood guard around the ship itself. "This isn't going to be easy," Roger whispered. Pryler's alien eyes glowed with fierce tenacity. "We've come too far to give up now." Roger nodded, his mind racing as he formulated a plan. "All right, here's what we're going to do." Roger crouched low, his breathing heavy as he and Pryler darted between shadowy buildings. Sirens wailed in the distance, red and blue lights flashing ominously. The acrid stench of ozone hung in the air, telltale sign of Ithorian energy weapons. "This way," Pryler whispered, her alien eyes glowing faintly as she scanned ahead. They slipped down a narrow alley, trash cans clattering as they rushed past. Roger's heart pounded, every shadow seeming to hide an enemy. They froze as a police cruiser rolled by the alley entrance, its spotlight sweeping the area. When it passed, they continued on, staying low and moving fast. They reached the edge of town where abandoned factories loomed. Roger jimmied open a rusted door and they slipped inside. "We need to get to the crash site," Pryler said, her alien features taut with worry. "Without those parts, we're trapped." Roger nodded grimly. "I know the area. There's an old maintenance tunnel that leads close to the site. We can use that to avoid the patrols." They made their way through the darkened factory, ducking under conveyor belts and squeezing past hulking machinery. In the loading dock, Roger pried up a heavy manhole cover, revealing a dank tunnel below. The tunnel was pitch black, and Roger's phone flashlight cast eerie shadows as they splashed through ankle-deep water. After what felt like hours of tense silence, they emerged in the woods near the crash. Floodlights illuminated the area, human and Ithorian forces swarming over the wreckage. Roger's breath caught as he saw Kraxor barking orders to his warriors. "There," Pryler whispered, pointing to a twisted piece of hull. "That contains the graviton inverter. We need it." Roger's eyes narrowed, studying the patrol patterns. "Okay, I think I see our opening. When that group moves left, we go. Fast and quiet." They waited, muscles tense. The moment came and they sprinted from cover. Roger's hands shook as he wrenched the component free. An alarm blared. "Run!" he shouted. Energy blasts sizzled past them as they fled into the woods, ducking and weaving between trees. They didn't stop running until they reached their hideout, an abandoned barn on the outskirts of town. For days they worked, Roger's engineering skills meshing with Prylar's alien knowledge. The ship slowly came together, a hybrid of human ingenuity and extraterrestrial tech. But the stress was immense, knowing discovery could come at any moment. "Hand me that plasma cutter," Roger said, voice rough from lack of sleep. Prylar hesitated. "Roger, you need rest. You're pushing too hard." "We don't have time," he snapped, immediately regretting his tone. "I'm sorry, we have to finish this." She placed a comforting hand on his arm. "We will. Together." The tender moment was shattered as the barn door burst open. Kraxor stood there, weapon raised.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.